Hello, welcome to Looking Through the Glass. I am Sela, and I've got Christy Akram on the phone here. We did just do a live with my husband, so if you're coming back from that one, I appreciate you continuing with the support, and I hope that you got something from it. If you have, if it resonated with you, please subscribe. We plan on doing a whole lot more. I'm finally starting to get my crap together. um, um, but so this one is about traumas and triggers, and we're going to talk about our past experiences and how they've created traumas and triggers, and how we personally, some of them we're still battling, and that's okay. You are where you are as long as you are continuing on with the growth and on your path of healing. We're here to help as much as we can, and hopefully we help. Hopefully you can, help us a little bit. Like, comment on there. We are really looking for emails, stuff like that. So Christy, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can my family members let me know that if you can hear us all right? So we were discussing how Joey and I got past the deceit, the things that I had to do in order to hold myself accountable so that he could heal, and with that our marriage could move on. And I believe we're not talking just marriages, but these are things that actually have to do with our past relationships. And I've got, things to say about family and stuff like that too, but I don't want to call them out when they're not here. But so what I was explaining in the past one was that, all right, awesome. Can you hear Christy all right? Christy, talk.
I'm here.
Testing or something like that.
Test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Test.
Get up and take your iron.
I did.
Okay. All right. So I was explaining how it is very difficult when you are feeling ashamed, and how you can be triggered, how you can actually create, how shame actually creates trauma. You create your own trauma when you are feeling very ashamed. It literally, you're traumatizing yourself. Thank you. Hit the like buttons, the thumbs up from Puppy. If you know that, then you know it. If you don't, research it. It's Kronk's new groove, man. It's a little muffled, but can understand. Who's a bit muffled, Christy or me? But anyhow, when you are someone that, when you're feeling ashamed, when you do things in deceit, you are actually, when you're trying to hold yourself accountable, you are hurting yourself. It is, if you feel shame, then you are traumatizing yourself. And I was explaining how when you traumatize yourself in that manner, it creates triggers. And everybody's going to have their own triggers because they have their own experiences. This is one of mine. And we're going to discuss our own personal experiences. And I was having a really hard time, and it was very difficult because it would trigger that shame when I had to let Joey know what was going on, when I had to be communicative about everything, and how I had to be Oh, yeah. Okay. It's you got the first part. It's I at the end, not Y. But Chrissy, you're kind of muffled. They're saying.
I know. Well, maybe it's because of my voice.
You're not as muffled as you were.
Okay, because I don't have the microphone in my mouth.
But so in the creating of the shame, I got triggered by shame. And it would make me feel very uncomfortable when I had to share certain information about my whereabouts or about when I was going to go get drugs. Those are information that my husband wanted in order to create a an honest relationship. Those are things that, he wanted to know about so that he could feel like he could trust me again. So opening yourself up to that kind of vulnerability and knowing that you have those kind of triggers, or how to know that you have those kind of triggers, is, you all of a sudden feel really anxious, or you get angry, or you get defensive. That was my way of going about things, is I would get defensive. And sometimes I would start a little bit of an argument because it bothered me. I would feel nothing but shame, and it really bothered me. And I know that a lot of people have those defenses out there. Now, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable when you're trying to heal, when you're trying to heal from shame, and when you're trying to heal a relationship when you are triggered by your shame. So, Christy, can you explain some of the different things that you have experienced?
Well, I come on different stages because I have traumas from childhood and also in my relationships, family, friends. I have a lot of levels. I have betrayal trauma where it stems from people trying to manipulate the truth or avoiding the truth or things like that. And I know from these traumas I have my own set of trauma responses and things like that. So I never claim to be perfect. I know I have my own things that I'm trying to heal from. But as far as like receiving, like I require a lot of things that people get tired of as far as like being in a relationship with me or being family or all. I require like constant, transparent communication. I require like honesty, vulnerability, reassurance, and I know that needing those things are part of my trauma. But also when those things are withheld from me, it creates triggers of my trauma, which then just creates like these circles of cycles that are endless, you know? I can't say that I've been on the aspect of having any kind of shame trauma. I really try to learn from the things I've experienced and grow within myself to not ever have to give that to someone else, I guess. But I think along the way there's traumas that overlap each other. Like with the betrayal trauma, then it causes like trust issues, and I have abandonment issues and things like that. So receiving and reciprocating and responses are, it's like an endless cycle if you don't have a safe place to go to be vulnerable and express those things and to be understood and heard. It can create more damage than good.
Well, in order to heal, you have to have a safe place. And that's where I was discussing where with the shame, Joey was a safe place for me to go, okay, look, because that shame is a giant trigger, because my entire life there has been an aspect of being ashamed of me because I was a drug addict or whatever, or there was, before people even knew, there was younger traumas from my father.
Yeah.
So there's those own abandonment issues in that. So shame is one of my biggest traumas. That is my biggest trigger trauma, and it was my most unhealed trauma, one of my most unhealed trauma. And it would trigger a defense in me. And I would automatically get defensive, and I would automatically feel very overwhelmed, and I would automatically and all Joey wanted was just clear communication. He just wanted transparency, which is something that he absolutely deserved, and is something that I absolutely had to do, because that made me be held accountable.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
During that process where you were vulnerable, you came to him, he made a safe place for you to be able to communicate what you needed to communicate. And you're saying that him seeking like transparency and reassurance in a way, what did it take a while for you to respond without defense? And what was your process in your mind to get to a point where you're like, okay, I need to stop being defensive. I need to be more understanding, because this is what he deserves.
I have to say, first you have to be open to recognize it. That's the number one thing about triggers, is you have to be open to recognize it. And it took time for me to be able to feel safe enough to there was accountability on the other side too, because there was so many traumas throughout my life that I needed to be proven that there was a safe place at the same time. And but I have to say that there had to be progress in between the meltdowns. You know what I mean? There had to be progress. And what I mean by progress is the meltdowns be a little bit more controlled. Okay. Not saying mean things, not being abusive in any way, shape, or form, but going, okay, I am feeling really triggered right now. And so I may come off a little cold or abrasive, but I'm not meaning it that way. I'm just feeling really scared, because there is such a deep fear of, and it is a type of abandonment, and it is I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes it takes a minute to realize that it is shame, and it is your self-inflicted trauma. And self-inflicted traumas are very difficult to actually recognize, because it's self-inflicted. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of work on my behalf to really go, okay, no, but it takes jumping off a cliff into the unknown. Thank you so
I
much.
don't know if it's took a little too long, so it popped, but it's
Oh yeah. Okay.
that was fine.
Thank you. I'm gonna be eating on the channel because look, I gotta get my food.
Start advertising my fucking
Yeah, your egg sandwiches. But it took a long time, and it took a lot of effort, and it took a lot of vulnerability. It took a lot of me being willing to hear where the other person is coming from. It took a lot of me opening up to seeing the wounds that I had actually created. And it took a lot of really, really, really scary opening to the wounds that I have created and accepting them for what they are and not being hurt by them anymore. I had to forgive myself, and I had to just start that self-forgiveness process, and not in a cocky way. Because in beginning of accepting forgiveness, you have to forgive yourself. And I think that would go with both sides, because Joey was blindsided by what I did. So, you know, when you get blindsided, you feel ashamed, you feel stupid, you feel like you were blinded, like, you know, there's all of that. How could I not see this? How could I have allowed this to happen? How could I be with this? How, you know, what else is there that is being lied to? And I understood all of that. And I accepted all of that for what it was.
Yeah.
And there has to be a radical acceptance, like a true radical acceptance, a radical acceptance as I did that, and you have to face it with yourself. Accountability. Radical acceptance for an accountability, and an accountability of, okay, the only way I'm going to heal this is if I actually heal.
Yeah.
Because when you do traumas like that and you feel the shame from it, you're realizing how bad you're hurting somebody, and it's hard to hear that. But you need to hear it in order for it to be healed.
Yeah, on both sides.
On both sides. You have to understand that both sides are hurt. And when you're the one that has done the deceit, when there's deceit involved, like there was with mine, it's a whole different level of accountability. It's not an accountability as in, okay, we got super angry and I said some bad words. It's an accountability as in, I actually planned this around things. I actually snuck and lied about things to you. Now, mine weren't bad. You know, they weren't that bad. They could have been a whole lot worse, but it was well, how bad is this going to get? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I can see like I feel like in those kind of situations, there's a lot of understanding that has to go into, like, even though, like, you're saying it wasn't that bad, it could have been worse, you know, like, to you, but from a person that has, like, trauma or has betrayal trauma or something like that from their past, it is, like, so
It's a
huge.
trigger
It's
in
mental.
it is a trigger in the trauma.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Even though and that's something that
Especially when you know that those traumas have been there.
yeah, it has to be something that the person that did those things has to understand, has to be willing to understand, and not just see from their side, but also have empathy for the person they did it against.
Yes. Completely agreed. Did I answer your questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
But like I myself, like I was saying, I know that there's like the different what is it, response types, or what are they called, like the avoidant, was it avoidant?
Yeah, the avoidance, and then
anxious attachment styles.
yeah.
The anxious attachment style, avoidant attachment style, like that. And I know for certain I have like the anxious attachment style because of my abandonment issues and trust issues. And so it's difficult when you are matched or you're with someone or have family members that have the avoidant kind of attachment style, where they try to, the way they handle issues for themselves is they go within and they try to avoid it, so they're not triggered. But then if you are the attachment style, the anxious attachment style, you need that communication, you need that reassurance. And so it's like a cycle of like the avoidant is trying to not be triggered and the anxious person is trying not to be triggered, but the way they're handling it is triggering each other.
Yes. And that you have to recognize those things and face them. I am more of the type that goes, okay, I need a breather because I have been in physical abusive relationships for a very long time. My prior relationship was very, 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 I swear to you that man was demonic. I'm not even kidding. And there was a lot of severe, severe, severe abuse. You know some of it. And that's where a lot of my shame came from, was being in that relationship for so long. So I don't want to get off topic, but maybe this will be helpful. So I have the more of the avoidance style because, like I said, I got triggered from physical abuse and very verbal abuse, extremely verbally abusive, very aggressive. And so I got triggered. I was hypersensitive with mine and Joey's relationship. I am still hypersensitive. I feel the slightest, it doesn't even have to be an aggression or any of that. There's just a slight little, he's just more determined to get things done. You know what I mean? He's just feeling inspired to get things done. So he's in a work mode and I freak out. I feel that. And there's a different vibration, and it's not an aggressive one. It's not a bad aggressive, but it's motivation. So therefore it falls under that slightly aggressive, and I pick up on it. So, you know, I'm not an easy one to deal with, but I'm trying to remember exactly where I was going with that. There was a point of it. The avoidance. So I always ran away because I have a temper too. And from childhood traumas and stuff. And I would walk away because everything always went physical. And I'm not the type to just sit there and get beat. And even though I did. But so my trauma was to retreat in order to maintain peace because of the triggers that were involved in that. And Joey's way was, I need communication now because he has abandonment issues. And so that really conflicted and it created a lot of issues. But it took a lot of seeing the other side going out on a limb. It took a lot of trying to think of the right words.
Understanding, I would assume.
Yes, it took a lot of understanding, and it took a lot of both sides realizing that the other side wasn't attacking or leaving.
Yeah.
When you have one that feels attacked and the other one that is afraid of being left or just trying to understand. I think it's more of a just trying to understand than it is an aggressive style. But when people have been traumatized from somewhat, when there's a hypersensitivity because they walked on shells for so long, they just need a moment, but they need to be you always have to be very respectful in that amount of time. Also, you should realize that the other person is going through it also. You need to stop and realize that the other person was in that argument or in that conversation with you. And that is something that people don't recognize, is that there is another person that is involved and just as invested in that conversation as you were.
Yeah.
So you got to stop having the conversations in your head and you need to have the conversation with them.
Yeah.
And you need to stop taking it from the person that they are in your head and start seeing it for who they are.
Yeah.
And you need to stop painting people in certain ways and realize that there's a person that you are in love with and there is a person that you've once wanted to share your life with. And you need to understand that just because there's issues doesn't mean you fucking run.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you the right to stop talking to them for 2 weeks or whatever. No, that's not okay. You can still say, good morning, I love you, and be in an argument.
Yeah.
And that is necessary when there is an argument or a situation that is ongoing, like what it was for Joey and I. We still had to love each other. We still had to, the only way you can build trust and build that safe place for both of you is by just loving each other. Realizing, okay, this conversation isn't over, but we need a moment to reflect on this conversation. But at the same time, I still love you and you're still my husband or you're still my wife. And we still have a life together and we are still building that life together.
Yeah, I think that's important because if you don't have that kind of connection and you just are inside yourself,
you lose it.
You can make the other person feel like they don't have a place.
Yes.
That it's just, about you. And that's it.
Yeah,
Like they don't have a place.
yeah, there absolutely has to be this. There still has to be a relationship. That conversation does not define your relationship if that conversation is not over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there should be a time where it's discussed and not just put to
Absolutely.
the side.
Yes, absolutely. At the same time, you need to have respect in the fact that there's other people invested as much as you are in that conversation, or possibly more invested than you are. But if that other person, if the other person is more invested than you are, then you need to do some reflecting and understand why. Because it's not the other person's fault. It is not the other person's fault. The person that is more invested in that conversation, the blame of you not wanting to be a part of that conversation is not their fault. It relies, it's in you, and you need to figure out why. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of relationships really go down, is in that not realizing how invested your partner is in that relationship, or not in that relationship, but in that conversation,
Yeah.
and leaving them hanging for 2 weeks. Or, I mean, in any conversation, this goes with mother, daughter, sisters, cousins. If there's a close relationship, this goes with anyone. You don't leave them hanging for weeks. You don't leave them hanging. Okay, maybe you need a day, but you still say, good morning, I love you. I'm not leaving you hanging. I just need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Or I'm willing, I think I have myself handled for right now. Because a lot of people, it's good to reflect. When a conversation gets heated, it is good to stop and reflect if you're not able to talk it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's no point. Like, if you care about someone, you have to have that balance between dealing with your own things, but still being available for the relationship you have, like whether it being family, friends, intimate relationships. Like, there has to be a balance where you are handling yourself, but also handling the other person that's in that with you.
Yes, there does.
Because if there's no balance, then there's no relationship. You're just concerned about yourself.
Yes, there has to be a balance between realizing that you're in a relationship. But yes, at the same time, you need to be able to maintain yourself too.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Junior said, "Yep." I hope you know my 11-year-old agrees. It's not easy, he said.
I think it all comes down to you making the decision of the value you're putting into what that person means to you. Because if you only can see yourself and what you're dealing with, and that's all you can focus on, then what you're telling the other person is that they don't really have a value to be seen or heard in that situation.
And you never tell somebody it's their fault because you have lack of empathy. You never tell somebody it's their fault that they're hurting.
Especially if you cause the issue. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes when you feel shame.
Yes, it is a very hard pill to swallow, but
Yeah.
but guess what?
you
Either
have to
own up
realize-
to it or
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah.
Don't go, well, it's your fault. I feel shame. No. Shame is self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Shame is a self-inflicted trauma. There is no other way around it. It is only self-inflicted. Nobody can shame you but yourself.
Yeah.
So, no, it's not the other person's fault that you feel shame. You feel shame because of your own actions. You are telling yourself that you are to be shamed, and you're causing your own trauma. It's not the other person's fault that you feel shame.
Yeah. It's a natural response for them to feel hurt, or for them to feel confused, or for them to need to feel safe if you have created something that altered that feeling.
Exactly. And it took me owning up to realizing, no, I created this. And so therefore, I need to hear. It took Joey a lot to go, no, I hurt you. I understand. This is a trauma that you've had. I had to go, I understand this is a trauma that you've had, and I've just re-injured you. Did you know that scars, if you have a scar, it is not a healed wound?
I like the symbolism he used as a car. So if you, and how you were saying, other people take more value in the things that they have. If you have a car that you love, like you love it, and it gets broken, and the car's not working right, are you gonna, like, if you crash your car and it was your fault you crashed it, are you gonna sit there and tell the car that it's the car's fault for not working correctly, or are you gonna try everything you can to fix it because you love it so it does work properly? Like, it's the value you have. You love the car, so you're gonna fix it so it works properly. And you can't just sit there and be like, my car has to work correctly because now I'm a better driver. You have to fix it first.
Yeah. I don't know if that made any sense.
I don't know if that analogy made sense, but it made sense to my brain.
It might make sense in somebody else's brain. What I was saying earlier was, if you have a porcelain plate and you drop it, you can glue it back together. It has all of its pieces, but it still has cracks. If you have a porcelain doll that's been dropped, an old porcelain doll that's been dropped, and you can glue it back together. You can have it professionally done, but it's still been cracked.
But why are you going to glue it back together?
Because you accidentally dropped it.
Yeah, but why are you going to glue it back together? Why don't you just, get mad at it for it being broken?
Oh, yeah, be mad at yourself because you dropped, or be mad at it because you dropped it.
Yeah.
Stupid doll. Right?
Yeah, and so you just keep it like that because now it's broken. You're mad at it because it's broken.
That's how this world tries to go about things.
I know. And that's where other issues come in, because when that thing is broken, what do people normally do? They just upgrade.
Instead of actually fixing, trying to heal what they broke.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's rough. I see. It's kind of like, so in my past relationship, he would go out to the bar and not come home until like midnight. And there like wouldn't be any food in the house, relying on his check. And because I couldn't get anybody to babysit for me. And well, I didn't want my kid alone with him, and he would come in mad because he came home late and wouldn't answer his phone or none of that shit.
So he would deflect the blame.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would always deflect the blame. He would get mad at me and like literally come in starting a fight because I asked where he had been.
Yeah.
And yeah. And how dare I say something about him driving drunk? Oh, wow, my husband's calling me. Hello? The Palo Santos.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm on the live. Sorry, guys. No, it's okay. She needs it. The Hollywood sticks. Yes. Yeah. Yep, that's the one. All right, bye. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Joey called and he's at the place and he's like, do I need to get some Palo Santos sticks? Which is the Hollywood. And I was like, because Giselle's been having issues. So I had to tell him which one, just so y'all know that's what happened. Really? Can you go play video games? And thanks for my happy 100. Yeah, today's 100, day 100. Woo! But so as you were saying, what were we talking about?
Deflecting blame.
Yeah, deflecting blame. I don't know. I would like to say that he felt shame and that was why he did it. And
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Huh?
That's what I was gonna say. Instead of taking accountability and feeling the shame or taking accountability for feeling shame, he deflected it so he could avoid feeling shame.
Yeah. Yeah, that I lived with that for a long time. And then I would get told that I was just using him. That for a stepping stool to get up in the world. I was like, boy, you really think low of me. If you think you're a stepping stool. I was like, first of all, that was like the worst insult you've ever said. I was like, that was the biggest insult of my entire life. If you think I'm using you as a stepping tool, a stepping stone to get up in this world, that you really insulted me. Because damn. I was like, first of all, if you were a stepping stone, I wouldn't have married you. Number two, I wouldn't have been with you at all. I would have been with the other guy. Yeah, everything was always my fault.
Yeah, I feel like I have experienced that, like I said, in different levels, like with my parents and family and friends and relationships. So
it's really, really difficult to learn how to trust. And you can't trust everybody. You just can't. And in order to learn how to trust is you have to be willing to take a leap into the unknown. You have to be willing to admit your faults and recognize your faults, because trust is, you can't trust somebody or build trust and not have the other person build trust in you at the same time.
yeah.
It's a two-way street. Anything else you want to add to that?
No.
No? All right, you guys. Yeah, we've been on for 45 minutes. Christy and I, we just kind of do our thing. If we are told to go live again, then we will go live again. But in the meantime, don't forget to share this, because somebody that's been going through this, you yourself or somebody else, because we're not alone. So share this with somebody. Come on, man. Or be stingy friend. But anyhow, please hit that likes button if it resonated with you, the big old thumbs up. Please think about subscribing. And also check out our Animals Everywhere page, Animals Everywhere 79. My husband's page, Drifter Joey 79, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch, and Junior's Adventures 12 on YouTube. Okay. We also have a TikTok and a Facebook. My email is in the description box below. If you have a story that you would like to be told, or if you would like to just share your story to us and it not be told, whatever, please email me. I am very interested. I want to start telling people stories. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll probably go on another one, but on something else. Who knows? We get us stuck on things. I'm not in charge. I'm just so we know, I'm not in charge. Okay. Love you guys. Christy?
Bye.